One, this is my outward bound journey. So it is 1 week after my life changing course in the Marlborough Sounds, and it was honestly the most insane experience of my entire life. This camp was way different from anything I'd ever done. Like, I'd done Auckland Science Forum, all these other camps, but this one was so different in ways that I can't describe. Like, the morning dips in the ocean at 6 a.m. and the PT trainings in the morning, I really felt like I was almost like in the NZ Defence Force or something. Like, we were like in our like high vis vest and like counting in Spanish as we did like our squats and push-ups and like I don't even know, Russian twist and all of these things, and it was so unreal. Like, genuinely words can't describe how amazing it was. The late night swims, the chats in the like cabin, and like the little like tent chats, and like the nights on the boat, it was insane. So I will go through basically what we did. So day one and day two was like getting to know each other and packing for our big trip. So basically, what Outward Bound is about, I would say the main thing is the tramping and the sailing. So we went tramping for 2 nights and then sailing for 1 night, and we slept on the boat. And so, getting ready for this trip, I remember being very anxious because I had never gone on a tramp like this before. And I was very stressed, but I was very grateful for my team members who helped me pack and really like helped me feel better about it and just like consoled me through the stressful experience of just packing. And little did I know that there was going to be so much more worse things that was going to happen. But it was worse in a good way. It was bad in a good way. You know, it really challenged me. This entire course really challenged me in the best way possible because it just like pushed me completely over the limits. I remember when we were told that we would have to climb this mountain. We were literally shown like this mountain in front of us. It was like this massive mountain, and then there was like a big hill, and we were told that we would have to literally tramp across this whole mountain along the ridge line and take a ferry. Like, no, sorry, not take a ferry. I wish I was taking a ferry. We had to sail back, and I was like, remember being very nervous. That's an understatement. I was petrified. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to climb up this mountain. And right before like we left to tramping, like right before we actually like started going up the mountain, like the like van had already like pulled up to the mountain, and I was looking at this and I was almost wanting to pull out. Like, I was this close to like being like, hey, like I need to go back, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I knew that I had to make the decision then and now, otherwise I would have to get helicoptered like off the mountain if I like changed my mind like halfway through and was like, oh no, I can't do this. So I was that petrified. But I remember in that moment I was like, YWCA had invested so much into me, and I didn't want to disappoint them, and I also wanted to really make them proud, and I wanted to come out with an incredible experience, which I'm so grateful that I have. But in that moment, I knew that I had promised to step out of my comfort zone and that I was going to put my all into this. So I did it. And I went up the mountain. I don't know how. And that I like, if you told me before that I would actually make it out of the mountain and without like getting helicoptered or something like that, I would have literally been so shocked. I would have been so shocked if you had told me that I would be able and capable of doing what I did. But I did it. And I remember really struggling. There's no doubt about it. I was red faced, panting like so hard, and I had never been in more pain in my life. The pain in my knees, the ankles, like I genuinely felt like I couldn't climb any higher halfway through it. And this was already reaching way past my limits. Like, if this was any other camp, I would have just pulled out, would have just been like, I can't do this anymore. Like, the stress of and the fear of falling, like the fear of dying, because like I have this massive fear of like dying, and like I was just so like anxious, and I really couldn't like go any higher. But I had to, because guess what, I was the slowest in the group, so they put the slowest in the front so that we all stick together. And even when I felt like I couldn't do it, I still had to do it. And I was so thirsty and I had so many needs. Like, I just felt like I needed so much. Like, I needed to go to the toilet, I needed to have some water, I needed food, but I just couldn't because we only took a break every hour. And it was through this experience that I learned that you are capable of so much more than you ever think you are. Because guess what, I actually climbed twice of what I thought I could, and at that time when I thought I was at my limit, that was only halfway through the tramp, and I was forced to keep going because I had no choice. And then I realized that, hold on, that's actually not my physical limit. My physical limit is actually so much higher. And I remember reaching the top of the mountain and I collapsed. I fully collapsed and I just like went like this. And I was so proud of myself though. I could see the lights, and that's why I wrote in my journal. I was like, tramping is like life, because you can go through such a hard time, and sometimes like your life feels just like impossible, like you can't make it, you can't do it, but then there's actually the light at the end. So a little bit cheesy, but it's true. And another thing that I took out of this tramping experience was also the way that I realized as a lead, like as a person like in front, I realized I was taking all of the hardest trails when there was so many more easier ones. And this is like a metaphor for my own life actually, is like I've noticed, like I went into like a deep trance as I was like tramping. I was like thinking like my entire life I always have been picking the hardest paths, or I've been picking paths that have been too hard or too easy and just like too overwhelming, and I haven't been planning properly what I'm doing, you know. And so in ending up, like if you don't plan your path properly, you end up with a much harder path that takes a lot more time. And like, yeah, so the people were like, oh my gosh, Claire, like this is an easier way, or like, oh, there's an easier way, and I would just take the hardest path. So moving forward, I'm going to really think about how I can set better paths for myself. Yeah, so that's like a little thing that I took out. And then so yeah, we slept in a tent for the first night, and then we did more tramping, slept in the tent for the second night. And yeah, by then I had gotten the hang of it. We had to sleep in a wet tent, and also I learnt that there's many things that you don't actually need. Like I always thought I needed my lip balm everywhere I went. I always thought I needed my phone everywhere I went, and like I genuinely could not go anywhere without these two things, or my water as well. Like I would go for runs holding my water, holding my lip balm, holding my phone, and I would just be like full of so much stuff in my hands. But I realized that, you know, I went literally like 6 days without lip balm, like, and I was fine. So I learned that, hold on, I actually don't need these things. I also learned that like your friends are really helpful. Like genuinely, they are really incredible in times, and sometimes you also just need to learn to ask for help, because I always struggled to ask for help from people, and I just always felt bad, and always just made me feel really bad. But like when I came to Outward Bound, there was some things that I struggled to do, like, and it was hard actually, like not being able to adjust my own straps, or like not being able to lift certain things, or put like things in somewhere. Like in the end I did find out that I actually was capable, but this was after the growth of the Outward Bound. But before, in the beginning, I felt very incapable of a lot of things. Like even I remember being so scared because I put on my backpack and I couldn't even walk a few steps, and I was like, how am I going to climb up this massive mountain? But in the end I did it. But basically, yeah, you learn how incredible the people around you are when you go to Outward Bound, and how much you actually like rely on each other for things. And that's a great thing. Like sometimes you just need to understand that it's okay to need help. So I got over my big fear of just like asking for help, but I also learned that I can actually do a lot of things that I always thought that I couldn't do. And also on a third night, sleeping on a boat under the rain on a hard floor, I just learned that you have to be grateful for so much. And the Outward Bound like teaches you like it teaches you physically instead of through words. Like you could, like, there's so many places that just say, oh, like you should be grateful for like the little things in life, and like, you know, that's how you be happy, is like through being grateful. But you could hear that, but Outward Bound teaches you the real thing, because when you're in Outward Bound, you honestly lose a lot of like the basic things, like having like clean hands, having like unlimited water, showers, bathrooms. Like I remember coming back from the trip, and I saw water coming from a tap, and I was shocked. I was so happy. I was laughing. I went to the toilet and I took toilet paper out of the dispenser, and I remember just being so joyful at the toilet paper coming from a dispenser. And like even just seeing a toilet was like the most biggest joy of my life. And the first thing that I told my parents when I got back from Outward Bound was that I was never going to be fussy again, because before, I always needed things. I always needed 2 pillows if I went to a hotel. I always needed so many things. I was like, oh, I always need a toilet. Like, you know, I can't go like more than an hour without a toilet. Like, I just had all of these crazy thoughts, and I realized that this entire time my mind has just been playing tricks on me, and I've actually been able to go without these things. But yeah, honestly, in that way, I will never be the same like after Outward Bound, and I will know now that I can actually live without like stuff, like certain things. And also the doors that Outward Bound has opened is incredible. Like now knowing that I could actually go to the NZ Defence Force and work as a nurse, like that is massive, because I was always limited by that, and I always felt like I could never do certain things, like the NZ Defence Force, for example, because I was like, oh, like my health problems and needing all of these things, and maybe not being physically strong enough is going to hold me back. But after Outward Bound, I realized that I was actually much stronger than I thought. And I remember we had to carry 20 kgs on this hand, 20 kgs on this hand, and walk. And I thought I couldn't even lift 40 kgs in total. But guess what? I actually ended up holding both and walking like the space of like almost like 3 houses, and I was shocked at myself. And it just shows like what you're truly capable of, and it just helps you so much to realize that getting out of your comfort zone is really scary, but it's actually not as scary as you think. And I remember being so scared to speak up at one point because it was so silent, and they were like, okay, we're going to open up the floor for anybody who wants to speak up. And at any other camp I would have just not said anything, but at this camp, because I knew I was going to try to get out of my comfort zone, I just did it. I went for it, and I came out. I was so scared, my heart was beating so much, but then I came out and felt so proud of myself. And I was like, it's actually not that scary. So moving forward, I'm going to really like be okay with stepping out of the comfort zone, or at least just try to, because at the end of the day, it is possible, and it's actually not as scary as you think in that moment. But those were the main lessons that I took out of this. Also, like the lifelong friends, and the experience was so unreal, and it was so incredible, and I would totally recommend anybody to do Outward Bound. Honestly, I feel like everybody should do Outward Bound. It's such an incredible experience, and it grows you so much. So yeah, honestly, I'm so grateful for YWCA for literally giving me this incredible experience that I honestly could never find anywhere else and would never be able to do again in my life. So this is truly once in a lifetime. If you're a woman and you're between 16 and 26, I would 100% recommend that you apply for their scholarship. It will literally change your life so much. I could not be more passionate about it. So yeah, just let me know if you have any questions, or YWCA. Don't hesitate to reach out to them and support them. But thank you so much for watching.